Mr. Speaker, yesterday was World Refugee Day, a day set aside by the United Nations to reflect upon those in crisis and dedicate ourselves to helping those we can help. To mark this solemn occasion, today the Judiciary Committee, the House Republicans will vote to slash refugee resettlement numbers, cut back aid to those fleeing violence and persecution for their religious or political beliefs, and make it harder for children fleeing violence, especially those from Central America, from receiving asylum from the richest, most powerful nation in the world. Tell me, how does that make America great again, Mr. Speaker? According to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, there are more than 65 million people, a record number today, who have been forcibly displaced from their homes. More than 21 million are refugees. 86% of the world's refugees are now finding refuge in developing world, with only 14% finding refuge in developed countries like the US or European nations. Worldwide, more than half of all refugees are children. So when anti-immigrant leaders' websites and TV networks paint those fleeing the Middle East, Africa, and Asia as hardened jihadists, or those fleeing Central America as gangbangers, drug dealers, remember, most of them are just kids, little kids. That's who we're talking about, fleeing their country for their lives. Mr. Speaker, America has throughout our history been a beacon of hope to refugees fleeing religious attacks, facing government intolerance and persecution, ethnic strife, or unsustainable poverty. Beginning in the 1840s, when the potato crop disappeared because of a blight in Ireland, the Irish people were left starving. Over 8 million people in Ireland, 3 to 4 million of them faced starvation. About 1 million died, mostly of starvation and disease. Another 2 million came where? To America. According to a recent article in the Irish Times, quote, panic had set in by the winter of 1846. People risked winter voyages across the Atlantic on unsanitary, unsafe coffin ships. Continue to quote, people were placed in quarantine stations or held on board ships docked at ports. Refugees experienced violent and racist reactions. Liverpool, Glasgow, Montreal, Boston, New York, Philadelphia sought unsuccessfully to restrict entry of the Irish. A lot of this sounds familiar to me today when we discuss the Muslim ban that the courts have blocked and which motivated thousands of Americans to go to airports to demand that the United States honor its visa and honor its commitment to refugees. Or, as the House Judiciary Committee meets today to punish children for fleeing for their lives. Roughly 32 million Americans trace their roots to Ireland. That's about 10% of the US population. And let's be clear, the British rulers over Ireland were not sending what they considered their best people. They were poor, they were uneducated, and US politicians at the time said that they were sending rapists, murderers, and drunks, even as some they assumed were good people. They were from a religion that threatened the United States. They were Catholics who were as foreign to American Protestants in some regards as Muslims are today. But who can imagine America without the Irish today? You look down the list of generals, presidents, members of Congress, and every aspect of American society today, and we can all say to some degree we're Irish. As House Republicans vote today to pass bills to keep out the wretched refuge of your teeming shore, as we pass laws to pull up the drawbridge and put a big do not enter sign on the Statue of Liberty, I hope my Republican colleagues who can trace roots back to someone who came across the water, risked everything, and bet their lives on the United States. I hope all of us will reflect on those ancestors as we deliberate laws and how we would have kept so many of them out. His Holiness Pope Francis, who we all remember just spoke steps away from where I'm at right now, reminded us to always follow the golden rule in all our deliberation. Pope Francis said just this past Sunday that the nations of the world should continue to welcome refugees. And each of us as individuals can learn a lot by meeting with, speaking with, and breaking bread with refugees. His Holiness said, quote, personal meetings with refugees can dissolve fears and distorted ideologies and become paths for growth in humanity, end quote. Mr. Speaker, I hope my Republican colleagues have been listening, because as we have a speaker who is both Catholic and Irish, but I fear they will not.
Gentleman from Illinois yields back.